when you try to take the reins of the offense? What some of the shots you taking?
I mean, I give Shai a lot of freedom, have for a long time. I have a lot of trust in Shai to find the balance of his own aggression and involving other guys. That's never going to be perfect, but I thought he had it going there at different times. Trust him as much as I've ever trusted him.
Yeah. Just what did you see during that 16-0 run that Dallas went over in the third quarter?
We got a little sloppy offensively with our execution. We turned it over a couple times. They got hot. They made shots and converted, so credit them. That was probably the missed opportunity of the game for us. We were up by 10 and had a pretty good grip on it, and just didn't stack quality enough possessions in that part of the game to either extend the lead or hold the lead. But a lot of things we can learn from. We have to keep getting better through the series. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to get better. We're not playing quite to the level that I think we're capable of right now, which is disappointing in an individual game, but it's also an opportunity. We have some capacity there.
Tough to officiate in this league, but do you still feel as good as you did about the officiating before the game?
Yeah, we lost the game. The officials didn't lose the game today.
Mark, they are switching a lot defensively. Is that attacking the switches, which is something you've seen all year, one of those opportunities that you're talking about in terms of how you're able to kind of generate offensive flow against that?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of switching, obviously. I thought we had good attacks on a lot of plays. There's some that left something to be desired. We'll learn from them. But I think we're going to continue to see that. That tends to be the hand that they're showing right now. So we'll look at it and improve. Obviously, we have to be a little bit better on that end.
I don't know if you guys have gone to hack or shack much this year. Just the thought process on that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we like doing it when there's a numbers advantage to doing it. I give Gladly credit. He made those last 4. After he made 2 in a row, I wanted to try it again, see if he'd give us another one. He had missed a couple prior, but I was just playing some numbers there. I thought it also disrupted their flow. It allowed us to keep some offense on the floor for our offense, so there was advantages to doing it, I thought.
You rested Shai. I think it was 3 or 4 minutes left in the third. Was the plan to get him that rest and play him the whole fourth quarter?
Yeah, I just thought you get like eye drops going in or something, and then he seemed a little bit gassed. So I decided to get him a rest there. It wasn't planned, but when you do that, you can extend him a little bit in the fourth.
And points in the paint for you guys is a little abnormally low. When teams are trying to take that away because that's you guys' bread and butter, and shots aren't falling at the high clip that you want them to, how can you try to mitigate one or the other?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job. I mean, they keep Lively and Gafford down there, at all costs. That's kind of the way that they defend. And then they kind of shell up to the perimeter outside of that. And so I thought we got some quality looks. I think it's more about just, stacking quality possessions and letting that win the day, even with their defense and with how we shot it. I thought we missed some opportunities offensively tonight with some of the turnovers and then just opportunities to kind of make them work a little bit harder. So we'll learn from them and hopefully be a better team in Game 4.
Anybody else? Mark, going back to that 16-0 run, it happened fast. It was within a 4-minute stretch.
Yeah.
What is it like, especially coaching and playing on the road, to try to flip that momentum back?
Yeah, I mean, in these road environments, you're going to have to be able to play through some of those things. You don't have an endless amount of timeouts. I only had 1 down the stretch, because I burned through them pretty quickly there. So we have to be a team that's able to endure, on the road. But we've done that all year. We've made a habit of that. So I have a lot of confidence in the guys to play through some of that. But you also try to break it up a little bit if you feel like it's not going to get turned on its own.
Well, you just mentioned the turnover. I just wonder, I don't think it's a gaudy number of turnovers, but the fashion of them. What do you see in terms of, whatever that characteristically?
Yeah, I thought there were some uncharacteristic ones, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't think we played our best game today. We put game pressure on them. We were a couple possessions away from winning despite that. But we have opportunity to improve, this isn't the best we can play, which is disappointing in an individual game. I wish we would have won today, but it's also an opportunity because it means that we have another gear that I think we can go to, but we got to find that and we got to play with it.
With PJ Washington, you talked about him in pregame. You guys paying a lot of attention to Luke and Kyrie. Is it that he's finding those cracks after paying a lot of attention to those two guys, or is it just you just having to hot 2 games?
A little bit, like some of it's that, some of it's, he hit a couple of them during that run where it's, in transition and, you're at the mercy of who gets the shot in those situations. They're playing through him a little bit, they're trying to post it to him and do that. So it's a little bit of everything. He's playing really well right now, obviously.
You guys had a lot of late shot clock situations where there were some shots put up. Do you, I guess, attribute that more to the Mavs defense, or do you think you guys are trying to get the good for great shot?
It's always a combination of both, but we're never like waiting, to be clear. It's either their defense or our execution, and usually it's a combination of both.
Anybody else?
I know there are games where Chet doesn't really take a ton of shots with it, but this series specifically, like, what have you seen Dallas do to maybe effectively take away some of the shots?
They're trying to switch him. They're keeping guards on him. I thought he got some cracks today. I thought he did a good job of getting it side to side for us today. He did a good job getting on the glass today. I don't think anybody played their best game, though. Again, I think he, like everybody else on the team, we all, have to understand we have another gear, and we got to access that here so that we throw our best punch in these games. So we're disappointed we lost, but again, I think we have an opportunity to be a better team in Game 4.
Right. Go ahead.
Last game, you, Shai, Dub all mentioned execution. What do you think about the execution, even in the loss today?
Again, I think there's room for improvement there, offensively especially, but I thought the defensive execution was actually pretty good. I mean, to hold Doncic and Irving to the numbers we held them to on the shots that they shot is pretty good. We got pretty good nights there. So there's things to feel good about in all these games. I mean, we're not playing a close game on the road without playing well in some areas of the game. So now it's just a matter of winning the margins, thinking small. Just do the next best thing, the next best fundamental. We just got to get on that, and we'll play better.
You just said that this isn't the best you guys have played. This isn't the best you guys can play. And there's another gear you guys can tap into. What do you feel, from what you understand in this moment, has kept you from reaching that other gear?
I mean, the fact that we're playing a quality opponent, that's trying to hold us down. We're trying to hold them down. That's the nature of these series. I said it's a heavyweight fight. You're gonna have to be able to throw them. You're gonna have to be able to take them. So as you get deeper into the playoffs, this is what you deal with, and the ability to overcome this and rise to this is how you get better. It's how teams forge themselves over time, and so it's a great opportunity for us. Again, I said after Game 2, there's no place we'd rather be than playing and competing in this setting and testing ourselves in this setting. And we're getting tested, and we'll learn about ourselves, and we'll grow from it.
Chet's three-point attempts has specifically been low in this series. Is that something that Mavs are just taking away from him, or is that more by design?
No, it's definitely not by design. We want him shooting threes. I think it's some of the cracks. That's where I think some of the offensive possessions where he can maybe get it on the back end of a possession where we get kind of the blender started. But they're doing a good job of keeping us out of those situations. So we got to execute a little better, work a little harder on some plays, and hope that he gets some cracks there. But they get smalls on him. They're switching him. And that's specifically to try to take out his shooting.
Coach Dub returned. Is he 100%? You feel good moving forward?
He was good enough to go back in, so I'm assuming so. I mean, he'll get treatment tomorrow. We'll take a look. But
with the challenges, is there any hesitation maybe to use those early or late now after what's happened so far in the last couple games?
No, it's all cost benefit. It's another close play. It's 3-shot foul. Again, I don't think there might have been an out of bounds late that I could have gotten if I had a challenge, but it wouldn't have had the impact of a 3-shot foul for a good free throw shooter. So we're going to stay aggressive.
What did you make of the call in tonight's challenge?
I'm sorry?
What did you make of the call in tonight's challenge? Just that play generally?
Like the decision they made? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're looking at it, from every angle. So once they look at it, I trust it. We look at it as best we can. We trust the players. We trust the video. Trust our instincts. But you're playing a probability on those things. But, when the probability is good enough and the impact's high, that's when you go get it, and that's why I did it.
Was part of the confidence in that just how adamant Lou was and wanting to challenge that?
All the information matters. But ultimately, my decision, if it's an unsuccessful challenge, I own that.
Anybody else? Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Incredible experience for them to kind of go through these sorts of things. And again, the Thunder, you make a few more plays here or there. You get you track down a loose ball, you get a better, maybe a favorable. We're talking about a different outcome here, and that's the way that playoff games just so often go, is that they can just tilt on the smallest edge in so many regards. And look, I mean, like Coach Mark said, wanted to win this game, felt like in a lot of ways it's a 4-point game. You played well enough to win this game if a few things go your way, but playoff series, and you can't overreact too much to what it is. Now the Thunder go in a 2-1 hole, and it feels like the world's crashing down, but really kind of the mission in a lot of ways sometimes is you try to come back and games in this building before you go back to Oklahoma City, and you didn't get this one, but there's still a game 4 ahead where you can get that outcome of what you want when you take it back to OKC.
It's a really good perspective, because for every team in the playoffs, there's going to come a point where it feels like the sky is falling for them, and for the Thunder, it's all about remaining steady, remaining level-headed, and making sure that you have clear eyes going into your next game. Thinking about the next game, Royce, there are a couple of areas where Coach Daigneault pointed out were some simple areas of improvement for the Thunder. One of them, just mistakes. The Thunder forced first 14 turnovers, but weren't necessarily able to capitalize necessarily on all of them on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, I think of one play in the fourth quarter. I think it was a loose ball steal, and Isaiah Joe's trying to kick it ahead, and Luka Doncic jumps in that passing lane right there, and that was one of those kind of 4-point swings, a 4-point game. But instead of the Thunder being able to break out and score like that, like we so often see them do, defense to offense, the Mavs were able to flip it back, and Luka got a layup out of it. So, I mean, again, those are small details in the game that feel like they stack up big a lot of times. But, again, this Thunder team has done such a great job of ball security, ball control, but you do want to see them be able to capitalize, because with the ball pressure the Thunder are putting on the Mavs, because Thunder are doing an incredible job on the ball. Lou Dort, Kaysen Wallace, Jalen Williams, all these perimeter defenders, SGA, are putting a ton of pressure on the Mavs, and they're able to force some of those turnovers. So to be able to break out and get easy points, because look, we all see how difficult it can be in a postseason series when you've got a team that has schemed you, ready for you, game planned every situation. They know your sets through and through. It is hard to score in the half court. So any freebies you can get when you play random basketball and can get out and run, it's a huge bonus.
You got to take advantage of them, and it's been so interesting to see who's going to step up for the Thunder each and every night. We've seen a really steady flow of offense from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another double-double for him in this game tonight. But Isaiah Joe off the bench, chipping in 13 points. He had a really nice flurry there in the second quarter where he came in and helped the Thunder kind of surge ahead a little bit, go on a little bit of a run, and help OKC go into halftime with a 1-point lead. What did you see from Isaiah in this game tonight?
Yeah, huge minutes. He's got some history in this building, Paris. His breakout game for OKC was flipping the script in a game 2 years ago. But that was really great to see from Isaiah Joe, and the Thunder needed it when he came in too, because again, that was, I think, 1 of 8 was the 3-point start shooting, and Isaiah Joe was a big part of kind of unlocking the offense in a lot of ways, getting the ball to go in the basket, and everybody started playing a lot better once a few Isaiah Joe's threes went in.
Just kind of took the lid off the rim a little bit and opened things up for OKC to get back into this game. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We've got a lot more coming your way when we come back.
Education as a whole, it's not just subject to what's in the building, in the brick and mortar building. It's everybody in the community
fighting for our students, fighting for our teachers, and fighting for our profession.
We're molding young minds into growing the next generation, and I think that's awesome.
I wanted to be a part of the school, not only as just a teacher, but as an active leader, where many voices become one.
This is where we're supposed to pick up the new employee. Are you sure this is where he lives? That's what it says. Seems like an odd place. What is that racket? Hey, what are you doing? Get in the van. Did you shower today, Rumble? When's the last time you shaved? Airco Service is proud to be the official service company of the Thunder.
Welcome back to Thunder Playoff Postgame. We have just wrapped up Game 3 here in downtown Dallas in American Airlines Center. And we are coming to you now from the court and joined by a very familiar face, News 9's own Steve McGehee, joining us one. And Steve, you were just in that press room with Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault following tonight's loss to the Dallas Mavericks. What were your biggest takeaways from what he said?
Well, Mark is obviously disappointed they lost the game, but he said they didn't play their best game. They can play better. No one on that team played their best game. He feels like they can do that in Game 4 and moving on in this series. But he liked the defensive execution from the Thunder this afternoon. So, it came down to, a minute to go, less than a minute to go. It was a one-possession game, and that's all you can ask for on the road against a very good Dallas Mavericks team.
You mentioned Coach Mark talking about just another gear, I think was kind of the way that he put it with this group. And, Steve, you've seen this team all 82 games into the playoffs. Where are some of the areas that they need to get to that other gear that we've seen so much from them?
They got that nice run to get that 10-point lead, and then they kind of got sloppy with the basketball. Next thing you know, Dallas scores the next 16 straight points. Earlier this season, they scored 30 straight here against the Thunder. They just got to put possessions together like they did in the third quarter, but do that in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. They were within range. Shai misses a three. Then the next time down the court, he's called for an offensive foul, and that kind of separated the Mavs from the Thunder.
Steve, one guy we were talking about just before you walked on was Isaiah Joe and just the energy that he brought into this game. What was your perspective of the minutes that Isaiah gave this team tonight?
He loves this place because they were.
I said the same thing, Steve.
Was it 2 years ago or last year
exactly.
that they're like, what's he doing in the game? And all of a sudden he's knocking down 4 or 5 threes. Yeah. You're like, oh, they have the lead. But he gives them some great energy, and he, in my mind, he has the green light all the time because he has a beautiful shot. And obviously the Mavericks defend him the best they can when he comes out on the floor. He gives them some great energy, and we're going to need that. The Thunder. He's going to have to knock down maybe 3, 4, 5 threes in next game to get this series tied up at 2. But great player for the Thunder coming off that bench.
Steve, what did you see with the team? I mean, Coach Mark talked a little bit about just the defensive effort specifically on Luka. He's such a handful in so many different ways, and Lou Dort is just hounding him all over the court. You can tell Luka's getting kind of tired of Lou Dort being around him. But what did you see from just the perimeter defense from the Thunder, really competing against Luka and Kyrie specifically?
They were all over those guys for the most part. It was P.J. Washington, and he entered the fourth quarter with 27 points. And then he didn't score in the fourth quarter, and that's a good thing for the Thunder. But then Kyrie warmed up, and Kyrie is so crafty. That's why he's one of the best in the NBA. He knocked down a few shots in a row to get them rolling. And I thought they did a great job on Luka. Luka's going to get his points. He's great size. He knows how to work the system to get fouls drawn on him. Interesting. He just maybe complains a little too much. I think Thunder fans out there kind of know that, but we knew that going in. That's the way it's going to go. But Oklahoma City can play better. Mark thinks they can, and so that's the positive we can take from tonight's game.
Steve, you've been in a lot of road arenas. This is the first road game of this series for the Thunder, and obviously this place was electric all night long. And we were talking, that's just something you can't underestimate and the impact that can have on a game. What was your experience inside of this arena?
It's pretty loud. New Orleans, nothing against New Orleans. They weren't as loud as playoff road games can be. I thought Minnesota last year in the play-in game was as loud as this, so Oklahoma City got some experience of this. But Dallas is, they support their team, and this is a pretty big arena. This is one of the big arenas in the NBA, but I don't know if that had much of a factor. Maybe had early on when Chet went to the free throw line and missed both right away against a loud crowd, but then he nailed 2 in the fourth quarter. He bounced back. But, to win on the road, you got to deal with this stuff. And Jalen Williams, about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, said, we love playing on the road. They love playing in environments like this, and we'll see how much they love it on Monday night.
You mentioned Chet, and he was really impactful in that first half. I think he had 3 blocks in the first quarter, finished with I think 4 in the game.
4.
Check that box score, Steve. Correct me?
Yep,
4 in the. I think Shai actually had 5, didn't he?
Shai finished with 5.
Yeah. What'd you see from Chet? I mean, again, this is a rookie in the NBA. And here he is protecting the rim at such a high level. And his instincts, Steve, just stick out to me. Seems like he's so often on time, being able to kind of play that cat and mouse game, drop off of his big and come over to block shots.
You'd love to see him play more in the game, but you can't play all 40. You can't play all 48, but he would be very impactful if he could. But he's doing the best he can do. And remember, this is just the starting point for him as an NBA player. He's only going to get better on both sides of the floor, and that's something Thunder fans should really look forward to in the coming years. But he was impactful. He had some block shots. I wish, maybe some of those threes would have gone in. Maybe he hits those on Monday night. If he does, that's a benefit for the Thunder. But we haven't seen the best from Chet yet in this series, so maybe it comes Monday night. But
maybe one of those gears that Mark was talking about was Chet.
Yeah, something definitely to keep your eye on. Another guy who's had it going this entire series, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Another double-double for him tonight, 31-10. He has those 5 blocks as well. What have you seen from him as this series unfolds? And obviously, the Mavs throwing everything they can at him to slow him down.
He loves playoff basketball. That's the guy. That's why he's second in the voting in MVP. He loves this situation, and it's just disappointing he missed that 3 late. Maybe he makes one of those on Monday night. He's due for one, but he gets to the free throw line. He's just so crafty, sleeky. Just the way he's just so quick with his moves, it's so hard for them to defend. So I would like to maybe see a little bit more from Shai offensively in Game 4 to kind of, he's the leader on the team when it comes to offense. Maybe he could do more for him.
Steve, you've been through a number of playoff series in the NBA. One of the things I was kind of talking about is how a lot of times you can fixate on being down 2-1 in a series and you can kind of overreact. But really the mission coming here was trying to get one of these two and really get back home court advantage. And so what do you see as kind of a big key of trying to flip the page and get back to 0 and try to take Game 4?
Well, they'll definitely get back to 0 because that's, don't worry about, trying to get to Game 7 or Game 6. Just worry about trying to win this next game. And I think Mark will get the point across that everyone on this floor, you played pretty good enough to almost win this game, but you can be better in game number 4, and I think they're going to get that point across. And it's just, it comes down to making some shots at the right time, and every possession is magnified in a playoff game, and every missed free throw is magnified, and they just got sloppy there in the fourth quarter, and Dallas took the lead, and they kept it the rest of the way.
Yeah, always a great response from this Thunder group. We've seen that mentality, that response to adversity all season long. Steve, thanks so much for joining us, helping us break down this game tonight. We appreciate it.
Had a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to take a short break here, but don't go anywhere. We got more coming your way on Thunder Playoff Postgame after this.
For many homeowners, the unexpected cost of replacing or even repairing their air conditioner can be overwhelming. We offer multiple financing options on new equipment or even repairs.
Financing solutions with no money down. Another reason to let Airco be the company you know.
Education as a whole, it's not just subject to what's in the building and the brick and mortar building. It's everybody in the community.
Fighting for our students, fighting for our teachers, and fighting for our profession.
We're molding young minds into growing the next generation, and I think that's awesome.
I wanted to be a part of the school, not only as just a teacher, but as an active leader,
Where many voices become one.
When the power goes out in your neighborhood, don't get left in the dark thanks to a home generator. And a new whole home generator can be installed at your home for as little as $150 a month.
Let Airco prepare your home for the next power outage.
Welcome back to Thunder Playoff Postgame. We're coming to you live from downtown Dallas and American Airlines Center. The Thunder dropping Game 3 against the Dallas Mavericks 105-101. And a lot of things taking place inside of this building. It was a fight. It was a battle. Really low scoring for the majority of the night. And the Thunder fell just by 4 points in this game. But you have to commend the Thunder and their effort to keep this game close, despite the fact that they didn't quite have their fastball in this game. And Royce, you talked about that. But as they look ahead to Game 4 now, they're coming back inside of this building, this really loud, hostile environment. What are some of the things that you think are top of mind for the Thunder?
Yeah, I think some of it is that kind of offensive execution, just where they can be a little sharper, a little cleaner, try to just continue to keep the blender going. There was a number of times where OKC really kind of did look like themselves. They had really positive pockets of play. Coach Mark talked about it, and on the defensive end, you hold Dallas to 105 points, and this is an explosive Dallas Mavericks team. And in a lot of ways, you had to do something right, I think is the way Coach Mark put it, to have a game this close. And defensively, it felt like the Thunder did play a very strong game, gave themselves a great chance to win. But a lot of times basketball games, people talk about it all the time. It's a make or miss league. Shooting variance does matter, but it's about those just small controllable areas, maybe a little bit sharper with the basketball and transition opportunities. And then also just continuing to generate those rhythm threes, whether they go in or not. I mean, you often can't control that, but in the first half, the Thunder generated a lot of them, and you just want to try to sustain that and stack those types of possessions throughout the game. And hopefully that just wears down Dallas, and they feel like that they've got to make an adjustment in game because you're punishing them with that blender action that the Thunder love to run.
It was really interesting hearing Coach Daigneault talk post-game, and he said none of our guys really played their best game tonight, which is an indicator that everybody out there had a chance to kind of add a little bit more, which a little bit encouraging, knowing that these guys, they're going to bring it every single night. They're going to step out onto the floor, and they're going to put their best foot forward and compete at a high level. When you think of the guys that have had a really good game, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his 31-10, 5 blocks, and to know that there's even another level to that sort of game, that could be kind of encouraging to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. SGA has played so well in terms of the floor game. With how he's been able to manage that balance of scoring and attacking and involving teammates and getting off the ball. Because, everybody can see the Dallas scheme here of trying to really kind of pack the paint, bring in an extra defender, sometimes 2 extra defenders to really shade the ball. But, there's one possession I'm thinking of in that fourth quarter. I think it was a minute and a half left, Paris, where SGA got downhill, he kind of got caught in no man's land in the air, tried to kick to the corner, ball got tipped up in the air. It was a jump ball, technically, but that was the call on the floor. And it was just one of those possessions where that's kind of an uncharacteristic turnover from SGA in that type of moment there. And as well as he has played in terms of managing the game and picking his spots, that's one of those just late game execution plays that just didn't go their way.
Right.
Whereas if it is a clean kick to the corner and Lou Dort's knocking down a huge three, we feel a lot different maybe about the way that this game turned out.
Another thing to think about, Coach Daigneault pointed out, we got quality looks tonight. The group generated really good looks. Some of them just didn't fall. The first quarter is a perfect example of this. The Thunder started the game 1 of 8 from the three-point line. That doesn't mean they weren't good looks. They were just shots that didn't fall. And sometimes it's just a make or miss thing. Yeah. The ball doesn't necessarily bounce your way. It's just about how you find other ways to put points on the board. And the Thunder able to do that throughout the game to make it just a 4-point game ultimately down the stretch. But you have to imagine some of those shots will start to fall for OKC.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, 10 of 30 from 3. I think one number that you could even look at is just the 30 on that Thunder would like to shoot more threes than 30 because, in the modern NBA, that's where you want to try to really have a defense is really key on you is from that three-point line, and that really blends into the way that OKC plays. Obviously, the Thunder have led the league in drives per game the last 4 years. They're leading it again this year. So the Thunder love to get downhill, touch the paint, kick the ball out, spray it all over the court, and get those rhythm type of threes. But, Steve mentioned, a player like Chet. I think Chet took 2 threes in this game tonight. We've seen Chet it's not even just the fact that he went 0 for 2, but you'd like to almost see him get cleaner looks and more looks from 3. Chet didn't have a lot of opportunities for those three-point shots in a lot of ways. J-Dub didn't get a lot of opportunities for three-point shots throughout this one. So, Isaiah Joe obviously took advantage of his opportunities, but even Aaron Wiggins, down the line you go, it feels like the Thunder could have maybe tried to generate more of those threes. The 30 number, you'd almost like to see that come up. The shooting variance element, whether you make them or not, who knows? But the more you can generate, the more opportunity you have to make them.
Cast a wider net, and you might catch a few more fish. The other thing that Coach Daigneault always points out is trying to look at the game through the opponent's lens. So if you're Dallas right now, you're going back to your locker room, you're probably looking up at the scoreboard, and you're like, 105 points. We could probably do better than that. What do you feel like some of the tactical things Dallas is probably looking at for themselves that they might come out here in Game 4?
I was thinking the same thing, Paris. As much as the Thunder feel like they could probably play better, I'm sure Dallas feels that same way. That and a lot of that has to do with the Thunder being able to really limit a lot of what Dallas wants to do. But, like Luka can play better. Luka Doncic, the Thunder, I thought Lou Dort specifically just absolutely played his tail off guarding Luka Doncic all over that court. It was funny in the fourth quarter just watching Lou just stuck next to him, and Luka was like just slapping Lou's arm away. He was just like, please get away from me, for crying out loud.
I would feel the same way.
It's like me with my kids when they've been just like crawling on me all day, and it's like, all right, we just watched a 2.5-hour movie together, and I'm going to need you to go away from me for a little bit.
Just a little bit of
I'm sure that's how Luka feels right now. But, but again, he's an amazing offensive player, and he went 7 of 17 in this game, even despite Lou's amazing defense. Luka can make more of those shots. He is a tough shot maker. That's what makes him so spectacular. So I do feel like in a lot of ways Dallas probably feels like they could get a little bit more of that themselves.
All right, let's look ahead to how the rest of this series is going to unfold for the Thunder. Game 4, as we mentioned, it's going to be here. That's going to be an 8:30 p.m. tip-off time. That's going to be on TNT. And then Royce, as you mentioned, take this party back to Oklahoma City for Game 5, back inside of Paycom Center. That game is on Wednesday at 8:30 again on TNT. Game 6 on Saturday, that's at 7:30 on ESPN if necessary. And then if necessary, Game 7, Monday, 7:30 p.m. on TNT. And Royce, getting back to Oklahoma City, that's the goal here, right? Yep. Get into OKC, get there with some momentum if possible, and that's really going to be a good place for the Thunder to be in.
Yeah, I mean, look, a playoff series, it's simple math, it's first to four. And I've made this point a bunch, Paris, before. You know, everybody makes their playoff predictions. Everybody, you can go on, you can see who all the experts are picking, and fans themselves are probably talking amongst each other, and they say Thunder in 6, Thunder in 7. You can go look at all these predictions. If you picked Thunder in 6 or Thunder in 7, guess what? Thunder had to lose 2 games to get to that game 6. If they have to lose 3 games, if it's going to be, if you pick Thunder in 7, Thunder got to lose one more time in this series for your prediction to be true. So, you know, you can't overreact too much. Yes, it feels bad. The Thunder lost this game and they go down 2-1 in the series. You'd like to have won. Thunder have played so well throughout the playoffs, but this is a test for them. Yeah. And this always felt like this was going to be a long series. Almost everybody felt that way. Whether you were picking the Mavs or you were picking the Thunder, almost everybody saw this to be a 6 or 7 game series. So some team's going to have to lose some games to get to that point.
It's almost the price of admission. When you're going up against a team as great and as potent as the Dallas Mavericks are, you're going to take some punches. And the Thunder taking a couple punches over these past couple of games. But we heard from Jalen Williams, J. Will, at practice yesterday, and he pointed out we've lost games before. This is not the first time that the Thunder has been on this side of the scoreboard. And each and every time, it's just about going back, getting back to 0-0, having a perspective that takes in the whole, really. And series are long, as you're mentioning. You got to get to 4 first. Yep. And you have to take it one game at a time. And the Thunder, really solid perspective up and down this roster, of course, starting with Coach Daigneault.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges. Again, I've been through a lot of playoff series and seen a lot of playoff basketball, not just Thunder, but the entire NBA. And I think that's one of the big challenges you hear from teams so often is just the emotional gaps of the game. And sometimes, you want to win those gaps in terms of scheme and game planning and adjustments and all that stuff. But you also I think, want to. And I think that's one of the big challenges every team feels is that you can feel that momentum wave and then you can feel that momentum dip. And so trying not to overreact, trying to be somewhat emotionless as you try to zero in on the next game and get back to a baseline ready to play that next game. Whether it's the adjustments, the schematic things, all those things, you just got to try to remove the emotions and focus on that next game tipping off.
Just making sure you are where your feet are and be as objective as possible. The fans, they can be as rowdy, excited, and emotional as they want to, but the Thunder trying to be as level-headed into each and every game as they possibly can. All right, we're going to take a short break here, but stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We got more after this.
Education as a whole, it's not just subject to what's in the building and the brick and mortar building. It's everybody in the community.
Fighting for our students, fighting for our teachers, and fighting for our profession.
We're molding young minds into growing the next generation, and I think that's awesome.
I wanted to be a part of the school, not only as just a teacher, but as an active leader, where many voices become one.
This is where we're supposed to pick up the new employee. Are you sure this is where he lives? That's what it says. Seems like an odd place. What is that racket? Hey, what are you doing? Get in the van. Did you shower today, Rubble? When's the last time you shaved? Airco Service is proud to be the official service company of the Thunder.
Welcome back to Thunder Playoff Postgame. We have wrapped up Game 3 of this Western Conference semifinal between the Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. The Thunder dropping Game 3 105-101, and we are recapping all of the action here inside of this building. And you have to commend the Thunder. We got to talk about their defense. Holding a Dallas Mavericks team to just 105 points in this game. Of course, we saw the effort of Lou Dort. We see the 5 blocks from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 4 from Chet Holmgren. What stood out the most to you about the Thunder's defense tonight?
I thought the Thunder were super connected on the defensive end because, again, so a lot of defense is your effort and your focus and understanding your personnel and your situation and what your assignments are. And the Thunder obviously are very keyed into those sorts of things. That's one of my favorite things about playoff basketball, Paris, is just the focus level that you can see, the communication, calling out the switches, calling out this guy's running the baseline. There's very few missed assignments in a playoff game just because of how locked in everybody is. But on top of that, I think what the Thunder really did well in this one was just helping each other all over the court, the scrambling, the Xing out all over the perimeter. Dallas themselves only shot 31 threes, and this is a high-volume 30 three-point shooting team. The Thunder did a good job themselves of limiting the three-point attempts from Dallas. So it was a really good job by OKC all over the court on the defensive end.
Yeah, it's a little bit of organized chaos
Yeah.
watching these guys point, communicate, and screen for each other, make sure everybody's on the same page. Make sure you're sticking with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We're waiting for players to sit down at the podium to hear from them a little bit later in the show, so stick with us. Make sure you hear from those guys in this playoff postgame. But Royce, back to your point about the defense. The Thunder, always such a strong defensive team. Obviously, they have great point of attack defenders. But I have to commend Coach Daigneault and the schemes that we saw down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter. A guy like Derek Lively Jr., being able to send him to the foul line, make sure that you're not giving up as many points, especially down the stretch of this game, I thought was pretty heady by Coach Daigneault.
Interesting wrinkle right there, going with the hack of Lively, and it worked there for a second, but I thought Coach Mark did a good job. Compliment Derek Lively, made 4 straight, so the Thunder went away from it.
Speaking of defense, Chet Holmgren, the guy with 4 blocks tonight, just sat down at the podium. Let's listen in.
Knowing how much better you guys can be, Mark was talking about it, kind of another gear that he knows that this group can get to.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you can want out of a basketball game. It's extremely competitive. Both teams really want it, and obviously we want to come out on the winning end of things, but if you take the result out of it, it's everything that you want to be going through in a basketball game. Fighting and going out there and having each other's back.
They have been switching a ton defensively, it seems. What are some keys for you all, since you've seen that over the course of the year, of attacking that, getting the advantages that you want in those situations?
Just doing what we've seen over the course of the year, and I'm not going to get into X's and O's and everything, but I mean, they watch film, they have good coaches, they know what we're trying to do out of those situations. It's our job just to execute them right and do what we've been doing all year and make plays out of that. So that's what we got to do.
With that, I know each game maybe calls for a different shot selection from you, but in this series so far, like, what have you seen Dallas do to maybe take away some of your shots, especially from the outside?
I mean, they're switching. When you switch, there's no real pop first shot advantage. So that's one of the ways. And then, I feel like I've gotten some good catch and shoot looks. I've made some of them, missed some of them. I just got to continue to be ready to hunt those and, knock those shots down.
You guys have been better at rebounding since the All-Star break. There was a point in the third today where I think they had 14 O boards and you guys had 1. Just what did you see maybe up to the third, or just generally in today's game that maybe led to that?
I mean, there's a lot that I'm focusing on, and I can't see the whole floor from where my point of view is, so I can't break down exactly why they got each rebound, but when there's a 14-1 advantage, that means that, they're crashing more, they're crashing harder, and they're getting the ball in those situations. So, we just have to turn that around, figure out how to turn it around, because, in a game that's as close as it was today, those second opportunities are extremely important for us to limit and also to get for ourselves.
Points in the paint abnormally low for you guys tonight. What was it that the Mavs did specifically, and then when shots aren't falling like the way you guys want to from the outside, and points in the paint are low, how do you kind of mitigate one or the other?
I mean, again, I'm not going to get too much into X's and O's. I'm just say, they're not going to let us just shoot layups all game. So, credit to them. They're a good defense with a good game plan, and we have to figure out how to counter that to the best of our abilities, and I feel like that'll leave us in a good spot.
What went wrong for you guys during that 16-0 run they had in the third?
The timestamps on that?
It was 8.5 minutes to 4.5 minutes, I think.
I'm gonna have to watch the film and get back to you on that. I don't know exactly what was happening, but it's a game of swings, and that's one of their swings that they got going, and both teams are throwing punches back and forth, so we got to be able to take those punches and then throw some of our own, which I feel like we did a good job tonight, and we've done throughout the series. In the last 2 games, we just haven't been able to be leading when the time runs out. So.
Chet, you mentioned earlier this is everything you want in a basketball game. Do you even have more of an appreciation of this time of year, these kind of games, because you missed a whole year and all that with your injury?
Yeah, I feel like I've always had a great perspective. Last day, it sounds cliche, but that day could be my last day doing it. And then when I got hurt, it kind of just built that appreciation, and now I try to have that every single day, no matter what's happening, whether I'm tired or this hurts or that hurts or I'm sick or, whatever happens, just wake up and be appreciative of the opportunity and the ability to go out there and play. And, I feel like until I'm no longer able to play, that's how I'll look at it.
Go back to that block in the second quarter where you jump up and kind of land hard. You're on the ground. What were you hurt there? Was there any fear in your mind just jumping up for that? Over, I don't know, there was 3 people you jumped over, I think.
Yeah. No, I never. I don't want to be like a crash dummy out there, but I also don't want to be hesitant out there. So my instinct is just go make a play. If you're out there worrying about getting hurt on this play or that play. One, that's how injuries happen a lot of times, and then 2, you're not, putting everything on the line for your teammates, which I feel like I always owe to them. So I'm just trying to go make a play, and if something happens outside of that, it's kind of out of my control at that point.
You're just catching your breath on the ground there, though.
Yeah, I was just getting a couple extra breaths in before play started again.
Mark was saying that there's another gear he feels you guys can reach. What do you think has kept you guys from reaching that gear?
There's no one magical answer that I could give you. It's an extremely complex game of, X's and O's, and so much comes down to makes and misses too. You miss good looks, you make bad shots. There's so much that affects how we look at the outcomes. But we're going to do everything in our ability to give ourselves the best chance to win basketball games, and I feel like that's what he's referring to when he says that. So we're going to get in practice in the film room tomorrow, and do everything we can to be the best version of ourselves for game 4.
How much does experience play into that? Just in games like this, you have Kyrie who's won championships. Luka's been in a bunch of playoff series. You guys are obviously pretty young.
I'd say, I think how to answer that one. Obviously we would all like to have the experience of winning championships under our belt and being through certain things and seeing certain things numerous times. But we're a young team and we haven't, and we're not going to look at that as a reason that we can't go out and do what we need to do. We're going to go figure it out, and we're going to do whatever it takes to do that.
You mentioned shot making. I just wonder, I know you guys have talked all year about just understanding the variance of the game, just how much it's a make-shot, miss-shot league, but at this stage when the possessions weigh as much as they do, does your perspective change at all just on that front, just how fickle the shot-making part of it is?
No, because it comes down to building that trust, which we've done all year. And we just have to continue to stick by that. If we run a play to shoot a game-winning shot and we get a great look and we miss it, we have to live with that. That's just what the league is. You might run a play and it doesn't work and you get the ball in and make a Hail Mary and, you're all happy because you won the game. It's just, you just have to look at the process over the result of things. And, we lost the game tonight. We're not going to change our whole philosophy on trying to be the best version of ourselves because of that. We're going to stick to the process and trust that.
Chet, obviously you guys want to have a quick start to some of these games. It's been a little bit slow in games 2 and 3. Obviously, no team comes in and is like, let's have a slow start. But what goes into using Mark's words of throwing that first punch?
Again, a lot of factors. The biggest one I say is we got to come out with as much energy as we possibly can. A lot of times, variance kind of favors the aggressor. So we got to come out being the aggressors and, come out ready to make plays and throw punches. And, the Mavs are going to do the same thing. So, I feel like that's what we got to do.
Thank you, Chet. Yeah, go one more. We can go one more.
Mark talked about like emotional gaps. Like, how have you guys handled that emotional gap that existed between 2 and 3, and then like the locker room even after today's game?
I feel like it's a combination of things again. We have very mature people in our locker room. Very steady, and again, we're all kind of bought into this whole process thing. Understanding that it's ups and downs, flows to everything. So, we're not going to change what we've been doing all year, trusting each other, trusting the process, trusting the coaches. We're going to continue to do that to the best of our abilities. And to this point in the season, it's left us in a good spot. So I don't think that'll change.
Thank you, Chet.
Yeah.
Great stuff there from rookie Chet Holmgren following tonight's game. I love the line that he threw out there. Variance favors the aggressors. And in all the things that we've talked about that the Thunder's going to try to bring to Game 4, getting out to a strong start, that's a big one.
Yeah, I love that too from Chet, and great perspective from him. And just, what is this now, his 6th, 7th playoff game to play in? And so, I felt like he really had a good understanding of what this game meant. I also liked how he talked about just the process-oriented mindset that they have. You've got to try to detach a little bit from the results and just look at the process of the game. I thought Chet was very thoughtful in talking about that.
Always so thoughtful, Chet Holmgren. All right, let's send things back over to the press room and hear from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams.
You can get to that just hasn't quite been there the last couple games. What do you think that looks like? What are some of the areas where you're just kind of not quite hitting that level right now?
I think we can be sharper on both ends of the floor. Like in terms of like 50-50 balls, communication. And I think we're trying to do the right thing. I just think like execution and focus. I think those two areas is where we can really take a step.
They're switching a ton. It's not like something you guys haven't seen before, but what are some of those maybe execution points on the switches that you feel like you guys can maybe take more advantage of?
There's I don't want to give too many answers, to be honest. But yeah, we could definitely attack the switching better for sure. Absolutely.
Wonder what, the way the game was trending late in the third quarter with Dub having to go to the locker room, did you sense a different level of responsibility to take on some of that late scoring?
Not any more than usual, to be honest. No matter what's going on, I just try to be aggressive, try to make the right play for myself and my teammates.
This is maybe a niche question, but does it feel like you've had to use more dribbles for some of your looks in this series, maybe than most of the regular season?
No, it doesn't feel like that.
Jada, you had to go to the locker room. Sort of looked like your ankle. How are you feeling after the game?
I went to the locker room.
Oh, how do you feel?
I'm fine. That's it.
For both of you, points in the paint was abnormally low, and then shots weren't as falling from the outside like you normally want them to. How do you kind of offset one or the other when a team's trying to take away your first punch, which is trying to get to the paint?
I think be decisive and be smarter with our attacks. Obviously, they have good rim protection and size on the wings and with their bigs. So just being aggressive but being smart.
Think of the pull-up that you took. You guys are down 3 with about a minute left. What do you think of that look?
Felt good. That's one of my go-to shots. So felt good.
You mentioned execution, Shai, tonight and today and the other night. What are just some things that you feel like you guys can do to execute a little bit better? Because it's the second game that you mentioned this.
A lot of it comes down to focus. Execution is just knowing what you have to do and then doing it. So it's just focusing in the moment, no matter what's going on, no matter what the swing of the game is. just like focusing on the possession and trying to do what is required in that possession.
They went on a 16-0 run there in the middle of the third. Did you sort of feel momentum shift at that point?
Absolutely. You 16-0, you're gonna feel, especially on the road, you're gonna feel a shift in energy. But we've been there before. I think they went on like a 30-something run early in the season here. It's just about focusing on the next position. And obviously that run hurt us tonight. And there's ways we can get better, and we'll try to learn from it.
The defense was significantly better from you all in this game. What were some strides that you felt that you guys took as a group from game 2 to game 3?
Physicality, kind of understanding how the game was being officiated, and probably a little better execution of like our game plan. I think just kind of understanding how the game is getting called in the playoffs is a pretty good indicator of, how to kind of adjust what we're doing. I thought we made that adjustment early.
Question for either of you: how long does it sort of like take to sort of adjust or get a feel for what the physicality is going to be on a given night?
Not long at all. I try not to, personally, like focus on what it's going to be tonight. I try to just play basketball and be strong with the ball no matter what or who's reffing. Doesn't differentiate or change anything about my game. And I can't control any of that stuff, so why worry about it? That's how I think about it, for sure.
Obviously, there's no substitute for experience, and you have to just have experience to have experience, right? But do you have anything you draw on, any games you watch, any players, vets, or you go back and watch The Last Dance or something, right, for this time of year, to help you in this time with the playoffs and the intensity and the margin between winning and losing?
Yeah, for me personally, I try not to like overthink it. I think like this time of year, both teams wanted the same amount. Like both teams have gone through 82 games in a first round series in our case. And it's just about carrying out the little things, and the team that executes and runs to the corner harder and talks better on defense, usually that team pulls out in a series. So just trying to focus on those little things to get us over the hump or a game or whatever it is.
If you have any answer on that one.
Film just kind of ramps up for me. I think it just gets a little more technical on who you're playing, because you're going to play them however many times. So for me, it's just probably watching a lot more film and a lot more like detailed film, like what's going on offense and defense.
It felt like you were one of the best finishers through contact, just league-wide through the course of the regular season. What are you seeing once you get to the rim so far in the series?
Probably a little bit more sprays. Thought I did a good job of kind of kicking it out when I drove. Thought we generated some good looks there, but they have two. Huh?
You did.
I appreciate it. They got two good rim protectors on their team, so you kind of have to try and find a balance of when to attack and get angles to finish. But I think a lot of it too is trying to occupy and kind of reading, what they're given as far as that goes. So
Change the way you pick your spots so far.
it's just a read, kind of. I think I'm athletic enough to where if I'm in the air and I know I can, I still have, the option to kind of kick the ball out. So a lot of it is if I feel that, they might block the shot, which that's kind of hard to explain, but if I feel like they can kind of affect it at all, I kind of am able to kick it out. Or if I know I can't finish there, it's kind of just about occupying it and, make the next play for whoever may cut or stay in the corner.
Obviously, you have to prioritize Luka and Kyrie with your defensive game plan. P.J. Washington's had a couple of big breaks.
P.J. Washington.
What do you think of the looks he's been able to get and what he's been able to do these last couple of games?
He's knocking down the shots that are available to him, so you just got to tip your hat to it and, adjust from there. But, like you said, a lot of it, too, is you got two very high-level players on their team as well. So, yeah, he's knocking down the shots that he's getting, and we'll kind of adjust from there. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to make shots on the team, and you just got to tip your hat and next play.
You were shaking your head, P.J. Washington. What do you think about that?
He's hooping. We got to turn that water off if we want to win the series for sure.
This will be the last one for the guys.
It looked like you approached the crew after the challenge in the first quarter. Just what did you see on that play and what did you make of the ruling?
No comment. Nothing to say for that one. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great stuff there from J-Dub and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander following tonight's game. Royce, a lot of different topics discussed there. The shooting of P.J. Washington here, and SGA say, we got to turn that water off if we want to win the series. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I love that, couple Kentucky guys. SGA has a relationship with P.J. Washington. That's why I'm sure that caused a little bit of a grin for him there. But, again, both players just talking about just some of those finer details throughout the game that they feel like that they could do a little bit better. SGA talking just about some of the execution. But, again, he pointed out what we've kind of been talking about, Paris, that in a playoff game sometimes it's just about those little extra things that just can really kind of tilt a game. They're hard to see sometimes, about just running the floor, closing to a corner, causing an extra pass, forcing an extra rotation. Sometimes those can be the difference. Sometimes it's just the bounce of the ball doesn't land your way or whatever it might be. But, at the end of the day, this playoff game was very tight, very close, and the Thunder had their chances to win it.
Came down to the wire, and those little plays, they add up over time. But the Thunder feeling like they have a lot of areas where they could grow heading into Game 4. Certainly something that we will be keeping our eye on. Looking ahead to Game 4, that game is going to take inside of this building, American Airlines Center. That game tips off at 8:30 p.m. on Monday. Once again, our final score 105-101. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. Our next post-game show comes your way Monday after Game 4 between the Thunder and the Mavs here from American Airlines Center. Until then, we say goodbye from downtown Dallas, and we'll see you on Monday.